Computer. All right. Awesome. Hi, everyone. Welcome to week 11 of the Shredder Adventure series. And I feel like it's warm enough today that I'm getting super excited to ride bikes outside with you all. It's going to be great. Just a few more weeks. For those Saratoga Shredders on the call, don't forget to register for the season on our website. We just opened up registration yesterday, I think it was. So be sure to do so in the next couple weeks. For those of you that are joining us for the first time this week, the idea of this series is for all of you to get the chance to speak to and ask questions of inspirational female athletes and adventurers, cyclists, hikers, runners, climbers, mountaineers, women who have spent some or all of their lives adventuring in the outdoors. By the time April rolls around, which is right around the corner, we will have spoken to 3 past Olympians spanning 8 different Olympic Games, 1 Olympic medalist who is joining us today, 2 future 2021 Tokyo Olympians, 2 world champions, and 7 US national champions in different cycling disciplines. We've spoken to cross-country mountain bikers, we've spoken to cyclocross athletes, road cyclists, track cyclists, bike packers, downhillers, and enduro riders. So I hope you're all inspired to continue asking these incredible athletes questions about their career paths, their training plans, their snacking regimes, etc. Please always feel free to invite your family and friends to join these chats also. The more the merrier. As always, we'll start out with some Zoom admin. I'll be letting folks into the call through the waiting room and also hanging out in the chat room to take all your questions. This call is all about you girls being able to ask this week's guest, Georgia, questions about her life as a professional athlete and beyond. You can ask about what it's like to race in the Olympics, what it's like to win an Olympic medal. I've certainly never spoken to an Olympic medalist before. And you can ask what it's like living in Vermont and what she likes to do with her kiddos. Anything you feel like asking. So feel free to raise your hand when you have a question, and I will call on you to unmute yourself or write or have your adult write a question in the chat box that we can ask Georgia if you prefer that. So without further ado, I introduce you to Georgia Gould. I don't know a whole lot about Georgia, so I'll let her further introduce herself, but I'll tell you what I do know. And Georgia, feel free to correct me if any of this is inaccurate, of course. Georgia is a professional mountain bike and cyclocross racer. And I believe that she was on the Luna and Clif team for about 10 years with one of our other shredder friends, Katarina Nash, who we had on a previous episode of our series. In that time, she won the US National Mountain Bike Championships 5 times and went to 2 Summer Olympic Games. She raced at the 2008 Beijing Olympics and then the 2012 London Olympics, where she won a bronze medal. And I think everyone probably knows what a bronze medal means, but that means she was third in the entire world, 3rd place in the whole world, which is pretty wild. Georgia's now retired from, she's not retired from racing. We just had that conversation. She is still racing, but she does live in northern Vermont with her husband and 2 young children. Georgia's been an advocate for equal pay for women and men in the sport of mountain biking. Georgia, we're super psyched to have you with us today, and was just wondering if you wouldn't mind giving us a little bit more details about your life and your career, and how you got into mountain biking, like where you were when you were growing up, and kind of at the age of these girls who were 5 to 12 years old. Is that when you started riding, or a little bit of history about the beginning of the sport for you?
Yeah, I actually didn't start riding until I was about 19 years old. I grew up, I knew how to ride a bike. I learned how to ride a bike when I was probably, I don't know, under 10 years old, but I didn't really discover mountain biking until the summer after my first year in college. I spent the summer out in Sun Valley, Idaho. And I was doing a lot of trail running and I saw people out riding mountain bikes. I thought, oh, that seems like a cool way to see more trails than you can do on foot. And so I found a bike and just started riding kind of randomly. I didn't really know anyone else that did it or anything. But I just fell in love with it right away. And as soon as I found a race to do, I did a race and fell in love with racing. So I didn't grow up racing. So
Interesting.
I actually did an interview at some point with a German journalist, and he was like, "You are very old." Like you're
Subtle.
yeah, no, it's funny. I'm like, I'm 26. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
But I think it is for a lot of people that start racing at such a young age. They're like, whoa, you're, in your late 20s. But yeah, I think it was a good, I'm not unhappy with having an older start to it,
And then
but
did
I
you go?
definitely envy all these girls that are learning so young, learning all the skills. You're probably learning all the right way to do everything instead of all the bad habits that I learned and then I had to or I'm still trying to unlearn because we're never finished. Everyone's always trying to get better and faster and um, you know, we're all working on stuff. So
Yeah. And then when did you go pro pretty quickly after you started riding bikes, or what was that journey like?
I did, I raced just kind of regionally, the local races around where I lived. And then there was a big national level race that was in Idaho, in the northern part of Idaho. So it was a few hours away. And my husband and I, went up I just wanted to kind of see what it was like to race, all the fastest people in the country. And I did pretty well in that race, and it was one of the later races in the series, so I didn't have any points or any I had a terrible call up all the way at the back of the field, and I did pretty well. So then I thought, what if I really gave this a shot? And we went to the full series of races and really, um, you know, tried to really do it. And then I just didn't want to, in my old age, look back and think, oh, I wonder if I really tried to commit 100% to that. And
Yeah.
so so I started riding in '99, my first pro season, which wasn't getting paid or anything, but just racing in the pro category was 2003.
Mhm.
And then 2005 was the first season that I raced the full series and was competing against people that were getting paid while
Mm.
still kind of working part-time and just trying to do it on my own.
And is that when you joined the Luna
The
Cliff?
next year, yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
so 2006 was that the next year
And
after
was
that.
that when they were just forming, or were they already formed when you joined
I
the
think
pro
they
team?
were in their they'd been around for a few years, for sure, because they were the top, all the fastest people were on that team. And when they said they wanted to interview me, I thought, me,
Right.
I, I'm not really a fast pro. I'm just kind of starting out. And they said, well, we're looking for a development rider. So we already have all these superstars. That's not what we're looking for right now. And I was like, oh, okay, good.
Lower the bar.
Yeah, but I was really impressed. I mean, I was very intimidated because all the women on the team were just the fastest women, and um, I was worried, like, how is this going to be? Is on this team? Is it going to be really competitive? And I was just blown away with how everybody had such great sportsmanship and real friendships. You'd race each other hard, but then off the bike everyone's pitching in, cooking dinner. Um and I still keep in touch with a lot of my old teammates. So um yeah, it was a really great experience racing on that team.
That's wonderful to hear. And I feel like these days with social media, oops. I think you just shared your screen by accident.
Looking good, Lily.
Thank you. Good job, Lil. um, with social media and things, we do get a little bit of a glimpse into these pro teams and the lifestyle when they're on the road. And just like you're saying there, I follow Leah Davison, another professional mountain biker, and you see them all cooking dinner together. And it does look like a lot of fun. And that they're out there suffering all day on the bike, but it's a really nice camaraderie that you sense from that
Yeah.
that lifestyle. So that's nice to hear that was going on then too. And so you were how long was Luna? And maybe you can tell the girls a little bit about what it was like to be, well, I guess you told them about how it was to join the team, but
Mhm.
how was the evolution of the team and your presence on it and how that changed?
Yeah, so the team, it had been formed a few years before I was on it. Maybe I think 2002 maybe was the first year. And it became the Clif team the year after I left. So
Oh, okay.
2017 was when they switched to Clif. And yeah, it was really, the team was really focused on being very professional and, winning bike races and everything. But also it was really important for us to be good role models for not just girls and women, but also for men and boys too. And I think that was something that was a really neat thing for me to see as a female professional athlete was, being a role model for boys, I think is really awesome because then when they grow up and have daughters, then they, you know what I mean? It kind of, it was really cool to have, to be in that position where, um, our team was just kind of known for being more of a, role model kind of team, I guess.
That's wonderful.
So yeah, that was
very approachable and
yeah. And we did did events where with the Little Bellas or with other grassroots organizations that that asked us to come out. So yeah, I think it was a really important part of the team besides just the racing and traveling and winning bike races side.
And when you joined, you were saying that you were kind of a training partner for people, but then did that quickly shift to when you were actually doing the winning of races and became successful on the team?
It's funny. So my first year on the team, 2006, I was a development rider, and at the national championships that year, I came into that race and I'd never finished better than sixth place in the race. And my teammate at the time, Shawnee Van Landingham, she had just been cleaning up for a couple of years. She was just winning everything. And, before the race, I was thinking, oh man, if I got on the podium, if I got top 5, that would just be amazing. Yeah. And in the race, all of a sudden, I find myself in, third place, racing with the top 3. And I'm going, oh my God, this is amazing. And then we dropped third place and I'm riding with we're first and second. And then I dropped her and I'm all by myself. And I just thought, oh my gosh, my first thought, of course, is what do I do when I cross the finish line? I'm not sure I can ride with no hands. I'm not.
Oh, babe.
No, sorry.
It's okay.
Go see that. Sorry.
On the little wide window show, I'm gonna be taken away to some outer.
Okay, that's okay. That's okay. Thanks. Sorry.
Oh my gosh, that was so cute. She just has the sweetest little voice. All the girls on this call, I can see her smiling. They loved that.
I have a 3.5-year-old daughter and also a almost 10-month-old son. And he is getting to climb up on things. And we have all these plants along the windowsill. And I think he's starting to be able to reach them. And so my husband's like madly moving plants to a higher location. And my daughter's like, he's moving all the plants. So that was the crisis. That was the crisis. But anyway, so I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I think when people cross the finish line, they have to throw their hands up, but I don't know if I can ride no hands. Like, what if I crash? That will be so embarrassing. And so then I thought, okay, you can't think about the finish line until you're actually at the finish line. So just worry about getting there first.
Yeah.
So finally I got to where I could, literally have crawled across the finish line if I needed to. And I threw my hands up and I did it. And I, didn't crash. But everyone was like, Georgia won that race.
Wow, yeah.
And it was such a turning point for me, not just because I won the race, but because before that, I had thought, I'd tried as hard as I could, just turn myself inside out in these races and finish 6th place, 8th place. And I thought, I can't go any harder than I'm going. So, these women, they must be able to just push themselves that much harder. I don't know. But in that national championship race, I was trying as hard as I normally try. I was just riding at the front. And it was just, it sort of was a game changer for me to just realize that you just never know what you're capable of, and so after that, it was shock to me. It was a shock to everybody, but that was sort of what kicked off my, you know, being one of the top riders, I guess. And the team was great. I mean, Shawnee, who was the favorite going into the race, she had a crash during the race, and she was not, I mean, just such a good sport. Like, I'm so happy for you, and genuinely was, you know, it wasn't like not like, I could tell she didn't mean it, you know, but and the team was just really supportive, um and there was no change in how the dynamic or anything when I started winning races. It just, I think everyone just kind of realized, you know, sometimes one person's riding faster and sometimes another person is, and everyone were just really supportive of each other, and so it was a really positive environment to be in. And I think when you're in a positive environment, then you're able to accomplish more, and you're able to kind of to do those things that that um you know, that, I mean, I don't know, that you have as your goals.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And because cross country, so girls, we've learned a lot about all different cycling disciplines through this series, which has been fun. These girls mostly know, of course, about cross country mountain biking, because that's what we do here in Saratoga. And some of the girls do some cyclocross, but it's mostly cross country mountain biking. And the team aspect is, you know, we've also spoken to road cyclists and track cyclists, where that team aspect is very different than mountain bike racing, right? So you don't necessarily, in mountain bike racing, you don't necessarily need your teammates to be able to get you out front, right? Or to drain the legs of other riders, right? It really is very individual. So even though
Right.
you're on the Luna team, it
Sure.
really is up to you to win that race. There's nobody else that's going to be leading you out, right?
No, absolutely. And I mean, there's benefits, I think, to having teammates in events like short track.
Oh, yeah.
You can work together, you know, and in cyclocross, you know, you can work together with a teammate. And so that was usually how, and even in cross country races, there were a few years where several of us would be riding, you know, sort of the same, we were all at the same fitness level, I guess. And so, yeah, we would work together, and because you'd way rather race one person at the end than three people, or
Yeah.
so we would work together until the end. And then it was just sort of an agreed, everyone for themselves, you know, race each other as hard as you can, and, you know, may the best woman win.
Yeah. When did you get into cyclocross, Georgia? Was that pretty soon after you joined Luna?
No, actually, I raced cyclocross before I was on the Luna team. When my husband had grown up racing bikes, and so after I'd done a few mountain bike races, he said, you know, I think you would like cyclocross. And I said, cyclocross? I'd heard about it. I was like, running with your bike up a muddy hill? That sounds terrible. Why do you think I would like that? And then I did one race, and I was like, this is the most fun thing I've ever
That
done.
is great.
All the races. So so yeah, that was also I really loved racing cyclocross too. And if there's one regret that I have about my pro career, it's that I never had a chance to race, to focus on cyclocross.
Gotcha.
Mountain bike was always my focus, and so I always was doing cyclocross as kind of my B season.
Yeah.
And I never had a chance to kind of come into a cyclocross season fresh, um, and see what I could really do. I was always
Yeah.
sort of, um, I tried for my first couple years racing to to do to sort of expect the same thing from myself from my cyclocross season and my mountain bike season, and that was just a recipe for disaster for me, because it was just too much. I had to let one thing be, you know, the less expectation, you know, but I had good enough results that I think I could have, um, you know, I always wonder, that's my what if
Yeah.
I, you know, did a full cyclocross season, but
So you won a couple of national championships, and then when did the kind of dream of the Olympics start entering your mind as an actual possibility? Can you tell us about that Olympic journey a little bit?
yeah, so yeah, I mean, I'd been racing for a couple years for Luna, at that point in 2008, I guess they do the selection that year. And it's funny, at first I was sort of, well, it'd be really cool to make the Olympics, but I sort of thought it was weird that a race like the World Championships, where there's just so many, the Olympics is limited to the amount of people that can participate.
Yeah.
So the fields at that time, it was like 25 women, where at the World Championships you'd have 100. I mean, and so a lot of countries could only send one woman. So if they had 3 fast women, they would only send one. And so I was kind of like, I mean, the Olympics would be amazing, but at the same time, it's not really,
not all the best athletes.
It's not all the best which, as a lay person, if you don't know, if you just know the Olympics, you think like, oh. And so I don't know. I kind of was like, that's so weird that it's the biggest thing, but it's not all the. And then as soon as I got to Beijing, when I made the team, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. I'm so glad I didn't know how amazing it is, because I would have been way more stressed out about making the team, and
how many of you went that year? How many Team USA?
2, and that was the max that any country could send.
Gotcha.
So I went with Mary McConaughey that year.
Okay. Yeah.
And yeah, it was amazing. It was overwhelming. And that was, and it gave me a good, I learned a lot that I when I went into the London Olympics, I knew how overwhelming it was in a good way, but still staying in the athlete village, especially the mountain bike season is one of the last, the mountain bike race is one of the last events. And so all the other athletes have all finished and they're all just partying, like staying out late, like whooping it up in the outside the thing. And you're still trying to focus on your event. And it was pretty overwhelming. So for London, I made the decision to stay outside of the athlete village before the race and stay. And also the course was not close to the athlete village. So it was a big commute to get there if you had stayed in the village. And I made the decision to just stay with my team and my support group out in a hotel near the venue so that I could really focus on the race. And that definitely paid off for me in London.
Yeah, gosh, you want as few distractions as possible, right? But it was nice that you had kind of the another Olympics to have that experience of the social side of things. But really,
it's a bummer because everyone's like, what events did you go see, or when you're trying, you have to. I had to choose between do I want my best Olympic experience or do I want my best Olympic race? Because if you're really focused on the race, you're not going out to see a soccer match or hanging out, chatting with people, that was the kind of hard part about having our event be in the play, be great if it was on the day one. And also in London, by the time I won my medal, they were like, oh yeah, whatever. We've had a ton of medals and more golds, whatever. I didn't do any TV things or, they were just like, oh, okay.
Oh my gosh. Can you tell us about the race itself and what it was like, how the race went down and when you realized you were going to be medaling and that sort of thing?
Yeah. So right from so a little background, that season had been my best season. I had 2 World Cups that I almost won. The first one I had a couple minutes lead and my legs cramped right towards the end and I had to just kind of ease off a little bit. And I got past, in the last couple minutes of the race and I got second. And then the next weekend I was leading the race. I had a couple minutes lead and I got a flat tire and I was on the last downhill. And I don't, if any of you have ridden at Wyndham, it was at Wyndham Mountain. And I stopped and I tried to use a CO2 to fix it and it didn't work. And so I just jumped back on and I tried to ride with the flat tire. And at the bottom of the hill, I had to jump off my bike to ride up the next hill. And within sight of the finish line, like 50 yards from the finish line, my 2 teammates sprinted for the win right past me, and I was running my bike through. And
No.
so I'd been so close to winning my first World Cup. And so I went into the Olympics knowing that I had the potential to medal. I mean, I knew because I'd beaten all those same people in World Cup races.
Wow.
And so at the start, I had a terrible start, and all of a sudden I'm at the back of the 25 people, and I'm going, are you kidding me? And 20 seconds and my Olympic dream is crushed. And then I just got really mad, like, well, I'm just gonna race as hard as I can, and who cares how I do? I'm just gonna, and I just start motoring through people, and all of a sudden I am in the top 3 riding 1, 2, 3.
Oh my
We're all
gosh.
3 together, and I'm going, oh my gosh, this is medal position.
After like 15,
And
20 minutes or further along in the race?
It might have been sort of halfway through,
Halfway through,
like
yeah.
maybe a
Wow.
third of the way through. And I it's funny because a lot of times when people have a good result that they're talking about the race, they're like, and everything was just going great. I was in the flow, in the zone. And that was not my Olympic race. I was like, something's gonna happen. I'm gonna crash. I'm gonna cramp. I'm gonna get a flat. I'm gonna is it
The
gonna be now?
opposite.
Is it gonna be now? You know, I mean, oh my gosh, I was so stressed out the whole time. I had the woman, we were riding together 1, 2, 3. I was in third, and the woman riding in second crashed on one of the technical downhills, and I had to stop. And so the woman that was in first got away, and
Oh my
I'm going,
gosh.
go, go, you know. And finally she got going, and we kind of rode together back and forth, and I ended up finishing, 6 seconds behind silver. But at that point, because of how, just stressed out and anxious I felt like I won the gold just getting the bronze. I was like, oh, okay, I did it.
Oh
But
my
so it
gosh.
was just I mean, the relief when I was close enough to the finish that I knew, that I had won the medal. It was just, I can't even describe it. And just to know, I mean, to know there were so many people watching from home and just cheering for me. And it was just such an amazing, just everything coming together on that one day. Because it's weird, I would try to tell myself, like, it's the Olympics, it's just another race. I mean, it's the Olympics, but it's all the same people you're racing against, and but there's just something different about the
Yeah.
Olympics. It's a different feeling in the air. It's different among the competitors, even though they're all the same people you see all year.
Right.
It's different among the fans. It's just different, and it's really, really special.
Oh, what a story. Well, congratulations. First of all, that's just an
Thank you.
incredible story and result. And I think we have a couple questions. Hey, little one.
Okay.
Oh. So Zoe, I'll ask Zoe's question, and then Emma and Sophia after that. So Zoe, what's your
Okay.
question?
Could you maybe show us your medal that you got?
Yes, I can.
What?
Okay.
Oh my good. Oh my
You
gosh.
see that? So
That
there's
is
the
so
front,
cool.
and there's the back.
Can I
Oh
see the
my
back?
God.
Yeah.
Oh, baby.
So yeah, and then it says London 2012. And then this is really cool. So that year I don't know if you can see this, but
Thick.
on the bottom, it tells you your sport that you
Oh, I never knew
that you won it in. So mine says mountain biking, women's cross country. So if you won so many medals, you're like, oh, this was my badminton one, and this is my
Right.
swimming one.
In all the
That's
different
how you can tell.
sports.
I love it.
Okay,
Oh my gosh.
can you go sit with Dad, please? Okay, sorry.
Actually, for some reason on my screen, your video just froze, but it's a really good picture because your medal is right up against the picture. But and Sophie and Zoe, is yours frozen as well for Georgia?
Yeah.
That's interesting. And are you still there, Georgia, or are you? Nope. We seem to have lost Georgia. It's ironically, you could just stay with that picture with the beautiful bronze medal on it. What do you think, girls? That's the first medal I've seen properly. What do you think? We can just chat amongst ourselves until she comes back.
The baby's really cute.
I know, did you hear her voice? It's so cute. Oh, okay, we're just gonna see if she comes back in the waiting room. See if she messaged me. Maybe her daughter pushed the video pause by accident. Has anyone been out on their bicycle recently? Out in the neighborhoods? I know the trails are still snowy. Anyone been riding? You have, Ruby? Oh, Ruby, what's your bike situation? I think one of you got a new bike recently.
Yeah, Piper got one for her birthday.
Piper did, nice. And where have you been riding? Just around the neighborhood?
Yeah.
Awesome. Anyone else been riding? Ooh, I see another hand up there. What's your name?
My name is Felix, and I ride with Dad sometimes.
Oh, that's awesome. Where do you guys ride?
We've been riding at North Bethlehem.
Excellent. Oh, fun.
And I love it so much. I've ridden the whole entire loop.
You rode the whole loop. Wow, that's a long loop. Good for you.
Yeah. I think the yellow trail is my favorite. No,
Yellow
blue.
Trail is pretty awesome.
No. I can't decide.
You can't decide. Oh, that's great. And do you know about the O'Donnells starting a new kids group down there in North Bethlehem? Hey, so Lily O'Donnell, who's on this call, where is she? Oh, she's not on the call anymore. I will put it in the chat box.
That would be great. We just found out about you guys, so we're excited.
Oh, nice. Are you down in North Bethlehem? Is that where you guys are? Niskayuna. Okay. Yeah. So Ryan O'Donnell's his daughter joins our Shredders group, Lily, and he just is starting a kids same ages like 5 to 12, but south of us, so that there's it'd be perfect for you guys. Yep. I'll just write that in the chat box.
Hey, are there any boys allowed?
In that one, yes, it's boys and girls. Yep. Shredders is just girls, but the group that she's back. The group that Ryan's starting is boys and girls. It'd be perfect. How old are you?
You're 8.5.
I'm 8.5 and he's 6, going to 8.5.
Nice. Oh, I see.
Oh,
there she is.
my birthday came yet?
Hi, Georgia. There we go. You're back. Oh, you're muted still. Sorry.
Sorry about that. I'm not sure what happened there.
No, I'm glad you were able to navigate your way back to us. Thanks for rejoining. Appreciate it. We were just chatting about riding. So you paused. It was funny. You paused right when your medal was right in front of us. We had this great view of the medal, and then you disappeared, sadly.
There it is.
Oh,
That's the front. And then there's the back.
Oh my gosh. And
then on the bottom, I don't know if you can see, there's writing there that says, it tells the sport that you were in. They engrave it on the bottom. So this says mountain biking, women's cross country.
Did they do that for every Olympics, or was that 2012 that was?
I only have this medal, so I don't know.
Nothing to compare
But
to.
that way, if you're one of those people that's like, oh, was it my badminton one or my swimming one? I don't know.
Gosh, can you imagine?
Yeah. Which one of my swimming ones was this? Yeah. No.
Oh, that is so impressive.
Yeah. So that's
fun. Where do you keep your medal, Georgia?
I just keep my medal in a drawer. Kind of boring, but I also I would take it to schools, or when I go to do talks or something. So
you get a littlest
sorry.
one. No, please don't apologize. Emma and Sophia, I think you had a question.
Yeah, we were wondering if you attended the opening ceremonies when you went to the Olympics.
I never attended the opening ceremonies because they were usually 2 weeks before my race. And so, but I did attend the closing ceremonies at both in Beijing and in London.
What was that like?
Amazing. I mean, just in Beijing, I remember telling one of my teammates, can you even imagine being a track and field athlete? I mean, the amount of people in those stadiums, it's just, I've never been in the presence of that many people in person. You know what I mean? To be in a crowd that big was just such a crazy experience. And to think about that crowd going wild while you're, doing the 100 meters or something would like, how can they get the mountain bike race in the stadium?
Seriously. Yeah. The indoor mountain bike race.
Yeah. And then in London too, it was a really cool show. I wish that we could have seen it from the stadium, because the sound is all done for the people in the seats. And so I'm like, this is so cool. And there's all these amazing musical guests and everything. And but at that point I was so overwhelmed with just the whole, winning the medal, and just, yeah, it was pretty overwhelming. But both closing ceremonies were really, really cool to be part of, and to just march with all the other athletes, of your country, and then just of all the countries. There's such a feeling of camaraderie and love of sport that is just, when you're with your competitors or people from other countries and other sports, it's really cool to just have all those athletes all coming together. And that's one thing that was actually really cool about being at the Olympics, is seeing all the different athletes, and especially in the cafeteria, where they have just all different, any different kind of food that you would want to eat. They have to have stuff for people that, Asian people and Mediterranean, and literally anything. So for me, I'm an adventurous eater, and I was like going around like a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and then I'm like, I have a plate of just nothing matches. But looking around and just seeing all the different athletes and how many different body types, tall people, short people, big people, skinny people, and these are all people that are athletes at the top of their game in their sport. And so it was so cool to see that it doesn't matter what your
little ones. All of you girls used to be that little. Pretty crazy. Don't worry, Georgia.
So bedtime's kind of soon.
Oh yeah.
And just a little bit of
especially when they wake up
today.
And they wake up at 4 o'clock. So it's
I was sharing with Anna that they my kids are early risers. So I see there's another question.
Yeah, and so Cameron had a couple questions. So her first question was, what is your favorite track to race at? And then her second question is, what food would you have after a race as your favorite post-race food?
You
could probably talk about snacks in general, your pre-race regimen and your during the race snack if you did that, and then an after-race food regime.
Yeah. So my favorite race course would probably, Wyndham has a special spot for me.
Oh yeah,
just because I raced there was a World Cup race there so many times, and racing a World Cup in front of a home audience is really cool. And also because I grew up spending the summers, my dad has a house that's about an hour from Wyndham, so it was really special for me to be able to race there.
So
sorry.
I'm just fast forwarding this race so that we can watch that section, and so it'll probably be right at the end that we'll see you have your unfortunate incident.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct? Okay. Yeah. Do you mind if we watch that a little bit?
No, not at all. Not at all.
So
you'll see me cry.
Oh,
I definitely was crying at the end.
So this is right around the corner from us, girls. It's an hour and a half south of us, and it used to be that the World Cup race would be there every year. So Georgia and her colleagues, race teammates, would be down there. I think it was every year for a while, wasn't it? 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, it was a while. Yep.
Okay, let me put this. Let's see. Share screen. Share sound, optimize our video, and we will go here, and then I'll put the sound on.
Oh.
Is that right? Oh, is that the men?
Nope, that's the men. Yep.
Oh, okay. So. Oh,
nope, that's men too. Yep. Oh. This is it here.
Is this a good place to start in?
Yeah, I think so. See, I have a flat tire. My
Oh,
rear
wait, let's go
tire is
before that.
flat.
Is that you?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're in US stripes, right? So blue
Yeah.
and white vertical stripes. Okay, so
Mhm.
girls, watch out for Jordan. And I think you have a yellow helmet.
Nope. This is my two teammates chasing
Okay.
me. So they're in second and third place. Okay, so here I am, and I have a flat tire on the rear,
Oh my gosh.
and I'm just trying to make it to the finish. And I get all the way down. It's all squirrely, but I can't quite make it up this hill.
Is that Catherine Pendrell?
That's Catherine. Yep.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Oh, Georgia. So many emotions, right? Wait, we're just gonna watch this because this is part of it all. Oh my goodness. Oh, and there's Katerina. Those are all your teammates. All right, stop share. Oh gosh, I cannot even imagine like having done all that work to get up there. You were in first and then you were passed right at the end with a flat tire. And at
Yep.
that point, so the pit, which would normally help to change your tire, it was too late to do that sort of change.
Yeah. That's usually about halfway through the lap. They have that, or they'll have it right at the start finish. But you know, when you're coming up to the finish, it's
I don't think I've seen
time
anyone
out,
finish a race
everyone.
that way. Right.
Yeah.
Oh, so is that Zoe? Zoe, did you have a question? Your hand is up, or is that a mistake? Nope. Okay. Does anybody else have a question for Georgia? Oh, there we
I
go.
see. Oh,
Yep,
yeah.
Aaron and his daughter. Sorry, I don't know your name, kiddo.
Harriet, go ahead.
When you were in Beijing, did you see any pandas?
I did not see any pandas. I did not, but I did go to the Great Wall of China, which was really, really great, and it was very cool. And I took a gondola up to the top of the wall, and then we walked along it, and then they had an alpine slide to get down.
What?
And that was pretty awesome. Yeah. That was very, very cool. So
Cool.
that was one of my highlights of when I was in China.
Cool.
Emma and Sophia.
I was wondering, when you were just starting out mountain biking, was there anybody that inspired you?
You know, when I was just starting out, I didn't really know anybody else that did it. And so at first my husband was sort of my inspiration, I guess, because he kind of helped teach me and rode with me was my companion, my riding buddy for a long time. And then once I started racing a little bit, all my future teammates on the Luna team were my inspiration. You know, I would line up next to them and be like, oh my gosh, they're so fast. And then I remember my teammate Shawnee, she one time I lined up next to her, and this is the year before I was on the team, when I was sort of starting to have some top 10 results. You know, I'd finished 9th or something, and she looked over at me. I lined up next to her at the start of the race, and she said, hey, you've been having a great season. And I thought, oh my gosh, she knows who I am. Oh my God, you know, I was like, thanks, you know, and then to just get to know her and know how, for such a superstar to be so approachable, it was such a great role model for me too.
And that speaks well to you being here. And that's exactly, thank you for being here to do that for us. And it really makes
Absolutely
all the
it's my
difference for all
pleasure.
of us to be able to talk to you. What was it like? So you then, so you were super successful in 2012, and then you didn't have your kids until pretty recently. So what was that, the transition from?
So 2012 was, I was, you know, had a really great season. 2013, I went into the season so at the end of 2012, I raced cyclocross, and I really wanted to have a great cross season because for the first time, the world championships were in the US. And I wanted to be one of the riders on the US national team for that first world championships. And so I made the team and I raced the worlds, which was in February. And which meant that I sort of had was going to have a slower start to my mountain bike season. But I thought, I was just ready to win a World Cup. I thought after my medal at the Olympics, and then actually after the Olympics in 2012, I won a bronze medal at the World Championships as well.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, I want there to be one more race this season. I'm going to finally win one. And 2013 ended up being my worst season ever. And, the first race, I think I was like 40th. I mean, my worst results I've ever had. And I thought like, oh, it's just a slow start to the season. And then it just never happened. And I started to just be like, what's happening? What is, what's wrong with me? I'm sorry, I'll turn the light on. It's like getting dark up here. And I, I got an iron test, like maybe I'm deficient in iron, maybe it's a vitamin. And they were like, sorry, your iron's fine. Like, what is it? What's wrong? And I really came to the point where, so that season was terrible. And I thought, okay, I'll take, a different tack coming into 2014. And when I started that season and it was just not going any better, I almost quit racing. And I came to the point where I just decided I had to really say, do I want to still race if I'm not winning? Because I'm not winning. Yeah. And so do I want to quit now, or do I love racing and there'll be some, meaning in it and fun in it, even if I'm not winning anymore. And so I decided that I did want to still race, even if I wasn't winning. And I just sort of had to start from scratch and rebuild my idea of, what success is. Mm-hmm. And 2015 was better. And then in 2016, I really had a great season. On paper, it wasn't awesome because I didn't make the Olympic team. They didn't choose me because I was too old. It was between me and a younger rider, and they said, well, she has more future potential. And so, yeah, it was like, it came down to a discretionary nomination. So that was disappointing. But at the same time, I'd already been, and I just didn't have the energy to fight it or to go to arbitration or whatever. But I also coached myself in 2016. And that was a really great experience. And I think 2016 was one of my most successful seasons. My World Cup results weren't great, but there's a whole whatever. I got a bunch of flat tires and I had bad call-ups from my year before that I sort of never got out in front of. And so I was really proud of myself for coming back from my really low point where I almost quit racing and got back to the point where I really love racing and appreciated it and kind of found my mojo again. And then I had a baby. So that kind of put an end to that for so yeah. That brings us up to, 3.5 years ago.
And you have continued to race. So yeah, tell us about what it's like to race with a family. Yeah. Do they come with you?
Yeah, it's I did my first race about 4 months after I had my my daughter, and it was a cyclocross race, and it was just it was so fun to race again. Because I didn't race when I was pregnant, so it had been a long time. It had been my longest time off. And, I wasn't, prepared or hadn't been training and so it was just fun to race with no expectations, to just go out and know that I had no business being at the front of the race, but just was gonna just try my hardest anyway and see how I did. And yeah, so for me, it's been really cool to kind of come full circle, to go back to how I started racing, which is just kind of doing local events, and you just kind of show up and do it. And, you know, you don't have a whole staff of people working for you. You know what I mean? I remember breastfeeding my daughter in the car. I'm watching all my competitors warming up and doing sprints, and I'm like, I guess I'm getting lighter, but
Oh, that's amazing, Georgia.
so
That must have been incredible.
Yeah, that was but it's been fun. And then to have my daughter cheering on the side of like, go mom, like, or maybe you don't,
Yeah.
I don't know, but
Yeah.
it's the best feeling. You're like, okay, I can dig deeper. She's watching.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, it makes all the difference.
Yeah.
Can't give up on this one because I have a
Yes.
daughter at the end, at this finish line.
Yes, exactly.
That's
So,
incredible. Emma
yeah.
and Sophia, you had a question.
Have you had any injuries while biking?
Knock on wood, I really didn't have any. Actually, the most major thing that I had was in 2008 in the spring at one of the national series races in Santa Barbara. I got heat stroke, and I was winning the race, and all of a sudden I woke up and there were people standing over me, and I didn't know where I was, and I didn't know what had happened. And my first thought was like, I must have had a terrible crash. And I was it was really bad. I had to go to the hospital. And it took me a long time to be able to race in the heat again. And so that's not really an injury, but kind of an injury.
Yeah.
But that was definitely the most serious thing that happened to me when I was racing. I'm a pretty not a very risky rider, so I don't like to just like huck myself down things, or I'm more cautious, and so that sort of served me well in my in my career.
Awesome.
I see another
Aaron's
hand.
kiddos. Yeah, Aaron's kiddos. Go ahead and unmute yourselves. There you go.
Me and Dad do something called Zwift. It's a program downstairs. You hook your bike up to a trainer, and then on the TV there's your person, and then you can ride it.
You do that too?
Anywhere, any place you want on the world. And there's and then there's a world that isn't even true called Watopia.
That is pretty cool. And you go there too with your dad?
Yeah.
That is so cool. I have been there.
Me too.
Have you seen Georgia there, kiddos? Have you seen her? She does the same thing. So next time you're on Watopia, you can think about Georgia also spinning away in your imaginary world together. That's
I know.
Pretty awesome.
Well, I just go anywhere I want, because there are 3 worlds you can choose.
I know, it's pretty cool, isn't it?
Well,
did you ever ride around New York City? Did you do that one? That's pretty cool. There's always lots of people on that one. It's always in a big crowd.
Yeah. I once went. Well, obviously, it's New York City.
Right?
I once did a KOM on a King of the Mountain on glass.
Oh yeah, the big glass highway that goes up.
Yeah, I love the King of the Mountain there.
I know, that's a cool one. I did that one too.
Did you ever get to see the flying taxi station?
Oh, I never saw that. Nope.
Let's have some.
Those are great questions. So I had one final question, which is, I know you've been a bit advocate for women in the sport of mountain biking and for equal pay. And how has that journey been? And are you must have seen quite a bit of, or I hope you've seen quite a bit of a shift in that realm of women's.
Yeah, I did. When I first got involved, it was more just me being like, what? I'd never looked at the fine print of the rules for the races. And so I had done a race and I had won the race, and the man that won the men's race, we were talking after the race, and he said, oh, this is a great payday. It's like, I mean, I guess it's okay. And he's like, $2,500. That's pretty good. And I said, you got 2,500. I got 250.
No.
And so he had won 10 times more than I did. And I just thought, this is crazy. And he was surprised too. He's like, you only got 250? He didn't even know, you know? And so I started a petition to the UCI to have the minimums be equal for the top 5 men and women. And I sent a copy. I got about 3,000 signatures, and I sent a copy, printed out a copy of the whole signatures, everything. And I sent a copy to each of the different disciplines, the committees at the UCI. So track, road, mountain bike, cyclocross. Because even though it happened during a cyclocross race, I thought, you know, why not just,
Yeah, absolutely.
you know, and I never heard anything. But the spotlight shown on that had brought it into people's consciousness, and a lot of the US promoters voluntarily decided to make their prize purses equal.
Interesting.
So that was a huge step forward. And then in Europe, they were still, you know, doing the regular minimums. And I remember it was funny one year when it had been equal in the US for quite a few years, and one of the newer riders that was just getting fast, she went to Europe and she's like, wait, this is wrong, check. And they're like, no, in the US, you get, you know. And so she'd been so used to just getting equal, just, but anyway, I got a position on the UCI mountain bike commission. And there at one of the meetings, I said, you know, how about equal prize money for men and women? And I expected a lot of pushback, since I was was the first time they had a woman on the committee. And I was the only woman on the committee. There were maybe 7 guys. And they all kind of, okay. And I was like, seriously? That's so sometimes you don't even know how easy it might be, you know, if you speak up and you see that something's not right. It might not even be a big challenge. It might be something so easy as other people saying, oh, okay, yeah. And so that year, that next year, mountain biking, all UCI sanctioned mountain bike races had equal prize money. And then to me, the cool thing then is now cyclocross and road and all those other disciplines can say, hey, you know, why mountain bike and not us? And so it was really great to be part of, you know, forging that ahead. And it's definitely more challenging for road and cyclocross, where the disparity was so much greater that it's hard to just flip a switch and have it be equal overnight.
Disparity.
The pay disparity is so much greater.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think because mountain bike is such a young discipline, it started with a lot more equity. There were always women racing mountain bikes from when it started, whereas road and cyclocross, you know, they started as men's sports that sort of added women in later. So that could be partly why.
Well, thank you for putting in the work that you've put in that regard, and making it possible for maybe some of these girls to benefit from those equal pay payouts for races in the future. So that's just an incredible amount of work that you put into that. So thank you, Georgia.
My pleasure.
Erin's kiddos, sorry again, I don't know your it's the first time I'm meeting you. What's your question, kiddo?
It's Harriet and Felix, and also is cyclocross anything like playing lacrosse while riding a bicycle? Because that sounds hard.
Oh, that does sound hard. No, it's definitely not that hard, because there's no way that I could play lacrosse and ride a bicycle at the same time. So if you can do that, then you should invent a new sport.
Yeah, so Harriet, the cyclocross is it's similar to mountain biking, but it's a bit different too. So you have a kind of a road bike sort of. Actually, you know what? We should have one of the girls describe it, because we've had quite a few cyclocross athletes on this program, and maybe Emma and Sophia or Cameron can explain what cyclocross is to Harriet.
Cyclocross, like you have a bike that's more like a road bike, and it's lighter because you have to go over like different obstacles and stuff like that and carry your bike. And also like
you might have to ride with or carry your bike up a hill that's too steep to ride up. or over up some stairs sometimes. So yeah, it's kind of like a mix between mountain biking and.
I think we lost you again. Oh no. Emma and Sophia, is she frozen for you too? Okay. Oh, bummer. Well, that was a good one to end on though. And thank you, Sophia, for, wait, who was that answered? Emma and Sophia for answering that question. It's fun to get feedback from you guys. Okay, well, I don't know if she's gonna rejoin at this point. So I will say goodbye to you all. Thank you all for being here. It was nice to meet you, Harriet, for the first time. And we'll be back next Wednesday. We have Ellen Noble is going to be here next Wednesday, who is a professional cyclocross racer. So Harriet, you'll learn all about cyclocross if you join that call. And she is a Red Bull athlete, and she's a pro. Oh, there's Georgia. Oops, you're muted again.
I do not know what's happening. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. We figured you wouldn't be able to rejoin, but I'm glad you were able to, because we want to thank you for being here and for joining us on this call and for giving these girls some inspiration moving forward into the spring season. And we wish you all the best with racing. Hopefully there'll be some racing this year. Who knows what'll actually happen, but
Yeah.
we look forward to following your racing career and seeing your kiddos grow up. And if you're ever in the Saratoga area, we would love for you to join us sometime.
Yeah,
and
absolutely. That sounds so fun.
and I think we will try, and we always go to Kingdom for either the summer or the fall. We do a trip up there, so it'd be fun to meet up,
Cool.
yeah, with a bunch of shredders.
Sure.
So
You
we'd love
guys
to
do
meet up
come
with you.
I would love to go for a ride with you. So
That would be wonderful.
show you my
Excellent.
favorite
Well,
trails.
yes, they're the best.
Thank you all for tuning in, and hopefully it was, I don't know, helpful or entertaining.
It was
One or the other.
wonderful. Thank you so much, Georgia, and we'll see you next week, kiddos.
Okay, bye everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.